time before the Misfits' world turned upside down. 1. Beware. Outside, the night air was crisp, and the island was quiet, except for the melodic sounds of the waves lapping the shore. Olive had a bounce in her step as she headed toward the once threatening "Do Not Trespass" warning, which now read, "Do not trespass." The sign had been edited by rash art students from a generation or two earlier and featured a drawing of dancing donuts. Yet, however silly the notice looked, school staff and students were still convinced that the donut trespass area was anything but that. Olive took in her surroundings, undaunted by the rumors about pockets of perilous quicksand, packs of sharp-fanged wild boars, and fearsome fog that could swallow you whole. With all the terrifying tales, it was no wonder that hardly anyone ventured beyond the donut trespass fence at the back of Foggy Island. On most days, once the San Francisco fog cleared, one could drink in the beauty of Rash's buildings while approaching Foggy Island from the bay. When she'd first arrived, Olive had been quick to fall in love with the school's quaint brick cottages, extravagant gardens, and magnificent mansion that was the size of a mini-mall. Yet the rear of the island was the mirror opposite. The area was dark and foreboding, and when the wind blew, it sounded like a warning. Olive loved the rumors. Threats of danger didn't faze her in the least, as she slipped easily under the tarnished chain-link fence. She said hello to the Swan family that was taking a nighttime swim along the narrow moat. As she strolled among the rusted machinery, mountains of bricks, and overgrown shrubbery, Olive heard a familiar rustle. Immediately, she retrieved her nose clamp and Foggy Gog's goggles from her fanny pack. They were good for thwarting powerful scents, seeing through fog, and keeping one's allergies at bay. After her much-discussed sneezing while saving cats during their last mission, Phil had cataloged every Misfit's allergies. Phil, pigweed. Iggy, coconut. Theo, none. James, lilacs and spotted lizards. Olive, cats. Yet not even allergies could stop Olive from coming to visit the fluffy, butterscotch-colored feline who had returned to Rash with the Misfits after their recent mission. From a nearby bush, Queenie poked her head out and mewed. "Well, hello to you too," Olive said, scooping her up for a hug. Less than a week earlier, Olive had hung upside down from a helicopter to save Queenie, as well as her collar, which carried a priceless diamond from the famous Royal Rumpus necklace. Cradling her friend, Olive breathed a heavy sigh as she recalled the mind-boggling news she'd learned earlier that day. Apparently, her recently departed grandmother wasn't dead, as Olive had been led to believe. Rather, Mimi was a high-ranking NOCK special agent, codename the Mouse, who was very much alive. And if that wasn't discombobulating enough, Olive had learned this from her rather boring parents, who also weren't who they said they were. Dr. Cobin Zang and Dr. Zang Cobin, Olive's mom and dad, were undercover NOCK agents just like her, putting Olive squarely in the middle of a secret operative family. It was kind of a lot to think about, and it was getting late. The crescent moon cut through the darkness, shining a spotlight on Foggy Island. Olive could see the lights of San Francisco winking at her from across the bay. In the distance, a laser light show from the city's famed Coit Tower shone columns of colored lights into the sky, like rainbows standing upright. Where were her parents now, Olive wondered. They'd only left Rash earlier that day. Could they see the lights too? Where was Mimi? Suddenly, the hairs on the back of Olive's neck began to prickle as she felt Queenie stiffen in her arms. Olive started to slow, listening carefully to a soft, crunching sound that wasn't quite in sync with Olive's own footsteps. When she stopped walking, the crunching stopped as well. Olive's heart was thudding so loud she feared it was echoing all over the island. She was being followed. 2. From the Shadows. Some people can sit next to a family of 4 who are all munching on barbecue potato chips and not hear a thing.